More recently, and specifically post October 7th, we've seen a solidifying of the relationship between the African National Congress, which, for those that may not be familiar, is the governing party, or was the governing party, and I'll explain that in a second, of South Africa, in its relations with Hamas, more specifically, and then, of course, Iran and other proxies. And what was striking was that not only at a time where there was so much to be done, so many issues to be fixed in South Africa, did we see this marriage, but this marriage was then flaunted on the international stage. You then saw the South African government taking Israel to the International Court of Justice, and then advocating for a second time for a ceasefire, and just so many other ridiculous things. And so the question that many people had was, oh my gosh, how and why did a country like South Africa come to a place where they would literally be used as the mouthpiece for Hamas and be used in international lawfare against not only Israel, but the Jewish people as well? Coupled with that, we not only saw this stance then been taken on the international stage, but locally in South Africa, we saw the African National Congress, and sadly as well, the president of the African National Congress, who happens to also be the president of the country, or at least was the president of the country, Cyril Ramaphosa, donning a keffiyeh in the name of standing in solidarity with Palestine. We also then saw at the manifesto launch, which was the beginning of the election campaigning of the ANC, a ginormous Palestinian flag being paraded along. What was striking, and I posted about this on my personal social media, was in the days, maybe 4 days to the elections, we had the closing rally of the African National Congress. Once again, we had this ginormous Palestinian flag. Joshua paraded in the stadium that was filled with thousands of people, and there wasn't a single South African flag. So here you are as the governing party of South Africa saying to South Africans, vote for us. We are your party of choice because we want to do X, Y, and Z for South Africa. Meanwhile, there is not a single South African flag. And so I, who does not support the ANC, but I as a South African shouted out, and I was like, hold up. It doesn't matter what your politics may or may not be. You should have a problem with this. Added to that, you then had many marches over the last couple of months, I should say, of free Palestine, South Africa stands with Palestine, Elections happened on the 29th of May, and so you would think that many people who were then participating at these rallies, saying free Palestine, who were then showing solidarity and support with the African National Congress in its stance, in its position with Palestine, would have voted for the ANC. In fact, there were several articles that were written to say any South African who believes that South Africa has made the right decision, the South African government, I should say, has made the right decision in its stance, its openly hostile stance against Israel, if that is your position, and more specifically, if you are a Muslim, without going into too much detail on that, because that's a topic for another day, but the majority of the Muslim population, or people in South Africa that identify as Muslim in terms of the faith, and more specifically the colored population. In South Africa, we've got different races, colored is its own. They were the prominent figures and people that were attending these rallies. So there was information going out saying, you need to vote for the ANC because this is an important issue of note. 29th of May happens, the votes start to come in.